So tomorrow is March 18th, or technically it's right now because I'm posting this tomorrow on the 18th. If you're watching this and it's not March 18th, March 18th is the day that my dad passed away 12 years ago. Yeah, 12 years ago, 2011. I wanted to, earlier this week, I was thinking about things that I wanted to do for the podcast, and I was like, oh, you got until Friday or Saturday to do it, and then I was like, oh shit, it's March 18th this week. I wanted to talk about him a little bit in a good way, not like boohoo, my dad's dead, I miss him, but he was fucking hilarious, and I feel like I've told a lot of stories about him, but there's a lot of stories I haven't told about him. So that's what we're gonna do today. I was combing through my Instagram, some of the posts that I made on March 18th or on his birthday on November 3rd. I haven't thought about these in a while, and they're really funny. And so I figured I would read some of these, and also in keeping with last week's episode where I did a really poor eulogy for my grandma, I wrote a couple of notes on my computer. He's already dead and it's already happened, so I can't like bomb a eulogy, so that's kind of good. His eulogy, I did really good with that one. Like, fucking bravo. Like, it was really good. But yeah, I wrote some things that I wanted to talk about a little bit. Funny stories about what kind of guy he was, and it might make sense why I'm the way I am when you hear them. So we're gonna talk about Daddy Stu. I got my Daddy Stu shirt. It's not about you, Stu. It's about the human Stu. It's funny. I think I mentioned this before. This teddy bear was actually my dad's when I was helping my mom clean out her storage unit. We were getting rid of a whole bunch of stuff, and we're just trying to throw away a lot of things. And I don't know what we were going to do with the teddy bear, but I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And then when I recorded the first episode, I thought, I feel like I should have something like with me so that I don't look insane. So I was like, I'll use the teddy bear for this one episode. And yeah, I think I look more insane with Stu, but whatever. It is what it is. And he's got a little following on Instagram now. You have like 50 followers, Stu. You have people that are following you, and they love you. I think I also mentioned this. I didn't name him Stu after my dad. I named him Stu after the gentleman that did our artwork for the podcast, Stuart Gunning. It just worked out, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, I wanted to do that. Also, I shot a YouTube video, for the regular channel this week, and editing that was such a hassle because I had so many visuals and all these screenshots I had to post and screen recording. It took me a long time, and I love this version because I don't have to edit that much anymore, because I decided I don't want to do that, and I'm going to try to do this all in like one take. We're going to talk about Stu. I don't know like how to start this. He was just funny, and it sucks. It sucks my dad died. It just, I feel like I was 24 when he died, and I'm 36. I forgot. I'm going to be 37 in a couple of weeks on April Fool's Day. And I was old enough to get him, but the older I get, the more I get him now. And I don't know. It's just a bummer, and I try not to. I feel like people, when they lose someone they love, I don't think you really stop grieving. And it's not like I wake up and I'm like, oh, miss my dad. But there's a lot of things where I'm like, I wish I could have shown him this, or I wish he could have seen this. And especially with my younger brothers, because he would have been so proud of them. Like, my youngest brother has a house, and my younger brother, he's doing very well. He's got a podcast too, and they're just fucking awesome guys. And I, and my dad knew that while he was alive, but he didn't get to see them grow. And I'm pretty sure he would have liked me still. I think that, I think he'd be proud of me mostly. Anyway, what a bummer. I wanted to talk about good things. Like I said, he was so fucking funny. And I'm just going to read one of these things. He used to do this thing every time we would drive over train tracks. Especially, we had a Volvo that it was like the station wagon where it had, I'm going to post a picture of this because I suck at explaining things. It was a Volvo, and then in the back, it was like a little hatchback, and you had a little seat back there, and it faced like the opposite way. So if it could fit two of us, and if we were sitting back there, we could see the people right behind us, and we would like wave to them and, goof off or whatever. So whoever was in the back seat couldn't see that we were going to drive over train tracks. And what my dad would do, anytime that we would drive over train tracks, he would slam on his brakes and scream, "Train!" And the two boys in the back would freak out naturally, but even the one in the back seat, and then usually my mom would be in the passenger seat in the front, we would all freak out because he was so loud with it. And like, if my mom was reading or daydreaming or whatever, like this was usually on like long trips, he would just scream "train" and slam on the brakes at the same time, and we would all freak out. It was such a brilliant, terrible thing that he would do. And as a kid, you don't appreciate that. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that he would do that kind of thing, as terrible as it is, because I, like, to this day, when I'm driving over train tracks, I'll hear him in my head just screaming "train." And it's not a nice thing to make your family worry about being killed by a train, but it's kind of funny, I think. Yeah, he would just do all kinds of like really terrible pranks like that. One of the things he did also with that same station wagon, when we would drive to we would go to Palm Springs. We had a timeshare out there. There was a sign that said "drifting sand" that was out in the desert, and that was to warn people that when the high winds picked up, like sand, there was like sandstorms, and they can like damage your car or make it really hard to see. We were driving one night, and he just quick thinking was like, "Oh, drifting sand, uh-oh." And what is it? "Oh, drifting sand. You guys don't know about drifting sand, do you?" And we're like, "What?" And we were like, God, we were probably like 4, 6, and 8 years old. He's like, "Yeah, drifting sand was he was a famous murderer in the 70s, and he escaped, and they never found him." And for some reason, my mom was like, got into this, and she was like, "Oh, are you talking about drifting sand?" And they tag teamed us, and my dad was just telling this terrible story about how drifting sand killed a bunch of people, and he escaped, prison. He's out at night, and like anytime you see a drifting sand sign, it means he's close. And it was the same thing. Like, the two of us would have been in the back seat, so we couldn't see like the road ahead. We just saw like pitch black behind us because it was, it was Palm Springs. It was like, desert area. It was a terrifying experience because you're in this tiny little enclosed capsule, and like you're both like looking on either side like, "Oh shit, like what does he look like? Can he run really fast? Is he gonna kill us?" Again, to this day, if I see a drifting sand, which is, it's really rare, but I think of him and how terrible that is to tell your children that there's a guy that committed murder and escaped prison, and he's out there waiting. Man. But to be that quick thinking, to see a sign and go, oh shit, yeah, I'm gonna do this. Watch for drifting sand. Like how his brain switched to that, like, oh, I'm gonna make up this character and scare the fuck out of my kids was brilliant. He was a brilliant man. He also, so one night, I'm just gonna read this one. One night, my family went to dinner, and on the way home, my dad saw a small coyote trotting in the street. He got all excited and drove slowly next to it and rolled down the window to whistle at it as if we were going to adopt the coyote. My dad followed it a few blocks and kept whistling. What his end goal was, I'll never know. We told him we were tired and wanted to go home, so he sped up and left the coyote behind. It was maybe 30 seconds later he slammed on the brakes and stuck half his body out the window and yelled at a woman jogging, "There's a coyote back there! Get in the van!" Boys, scoot to the way back. Like she was really going to climb in a stranger's van at 9 o'clock at night. My brothers and I were in the back seat groaning, and my mom leaned over and apologized profusely to this young woman. "What are you doing, you idiot? You can't just yell at someone like that. Why are you yelling? She's not going to get in our van." The woman, who was hardly worried and never fully stopped jogging, just said, "Oh no, that's fine, thanks." Anyway, that was him. He was just, his brain wasn't thinking clearly a lot of the times. And he would get so excited that he wouldn't realize, like in that scenario, he saw a coyote, saw a woman jogging, it was late at night, and his brain was like, oh, I need to like help this woman. It's okay if I ask her to get into our van and I'll like drive her far away from the coyote. And it didn't dawn on him that it's a strange guy in a minivan telling a woman to get inside. And he didn't have any shame when it came to that. His philosophy in life was, I don't care. I'm never going to see these people again. That's what he would always say in any embarrassing situation. And I mean, what a way to live. I have so many memories of him doing the most embarrassing shit. And he would always say that. He'd be like, oh, I don't care. What? We're never going to see these people again. I thought of this one time we were at Universal Studios. I think it was Nutty Professor 2. They were having a premiere for it, and there was like a red carpet event or whatever, and you could stand and see all the people like going in. I don't know if it was like a movie, if it was like the movie or what like the people were doing in there, but my dad was like, I wanna get in there, and we're like, no. And he was like, I'm gonna get in there, watch. And he left the crowd and he like went all the way back to where like the producers and like I think there were like some movie stars. I don't think Eddie Murphy was there, but it was some of the movie stars. And he went all the way to the back, and then he put on he was like 6'3". He was just this giant man. He put on his aviator sunglasses and he got on his cell phone and he was walking down walking down the carpet, and he was like yelling on his cell phone. He's like, yeah, I'm walking up right now. Yeah, I'm walking. And he faked his way into the like auditorium or wherever they were going. And we saw his giant body just like, he just kept going and he just disappeared, and like they closed the doors and we're like, he's fucking in there. Why, what's he doing? Why is he doing that? It turned out, I don't know if he got kicked out or like what ended up happening, but they ended up doing this like a green screen like to show how the movie was made, and they showed like how a green screen works and how you can have like yourself talking to yourself, and they had him do a scene from The Nutty Professor, and they put like a wig on him and made him like a shawl, like to be like the grandma character. So he read the lines of Eddie Murphy talking to Eddie Murphy. And it was just so stupid. But like I said, his mentality was, I don't care. I'm never gonna see these people again. And obviously we didn't, and we don't. And it was a fun memory. And that's how like I said, that's how he lived his life. He just was constantly doing whatever he wanted. And he was so smart about it. All right, cool. The camera shut off. So I don't remember what I was saying exactly, but he was such a smart guy. And when he would apply himself to something that he wanted to do, the man was unstoppable. And I have my parking ticket or my traffic ticket as a story. When I was about 16 or 17, and I rolled through a stop sign in our old Volvo. We had a 1981 Volvo, and I rolled through a stop sign and I got a ticket. And I knew I did. I was like, cool, give me the ticket. I got a ticket now. And when I got home, I told my dad, and he looked at the ticket and he was like, wait a minute, he clocked you at going 27 miles per hour. What street were you on? I was like, Cherry and 7th or whatever. And he's like, over by such and such? I'm like, yeah. He's like, You couldn't have been going that fast. And I was like, yeah, I was. I rolled through a stop sign. He's like, no, you weren't. Or no, you didn't. You couldn't have been. The cop made an error. You couldn't have been going that fast. And I was like, yeah, I did. And he had me drive back over with him and show him what I did. And he was like, no, we're going to get this dismissed. We're going to fight this. And I was like, no, I messed up. And I'll pay the ticket. And he's like, no, we're not going to pay the ticket. Here's what we're going to do. We're gonna request the ticket or the court date to be pushed out as far as we can. We're gonna try to do it around Christmas time because I bet that police officer. What was his name? Was it a Jewish name? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, oh, it's Kowalski or whatever. Yeah, he's definitely not Jewish. Okay, so we're going to try to get the court date as close to Christmas as possible because odds are the cop isn't going to show up and then the ticket will be dismissed and you won't have to pay anyway. And I was like, okay, dude, go for it. And then just as a precaution, he wanted to, if the cop did show up, he wanted to be prepared and prove that the cop was wrong. And that's exactly what happened. The cop did show up and my dad went with me to the court, and it was in like a little bungalow. Like it didn't matter, but we had to get dressed up. He had me like wear a suit and tie and he did the same. And he printed out like a big old poster of like a diagram of where the street was and the little, drew a little car and like how I couldn't have been going that fast. He showed where the cop pulled me over and he told the judge, he was like, yeah, he like spoke for me. Like he was my lawyer. He was like, yeah, my son, we have a 1981 Volvo, and for him to have accelerated and gotten up to 27 miles per hour 16 feet away from where he was pulled over is impossible. It couldn't have happened. And the police officer, my son he couldn't have rolled through the stop sign. And I'm just sitting there like, I mean, if this is working, I guess I'm just going to let it happen. I really wanted to just be like, yeah, I rolled through the stop sign because I did. I actually did. But whether it was an error on the cop's part or not, he got the thing dismissed. He did it. I didn't have to pay anything. And he was so excited that he beat the system. He was always trying to beat the system and get out of something and win something. And like I said, I didn't have to pay the ticket, but I almost feel like the judge just was like, all right, whatever, shut up and leave. You're insane, dude. You didn't have to do all of this. Just go. Oh, that's what I was going to say. The other thing, he had a weird, he was really weird about coupons. He would clip coupons for hours, and it was for things that we didn't need or didn't want, and he would get 50 of them, and they would either go bad over time or he would like give them to friends and stuff. Like he would give people that came over jars of ragu, because he would buy like 50 of them at a time. And I'm not joking. This is what he would do. And he would come home and brag about it. He'd be like, he'd put the 50 jars of ragu on the counter and be like, come here. How much do you think I paid for all of these? And we're like, it was probably very cheap. 50 cents. 50 cents for all of these. God, I'm good. And we're like, dude, we're not going to eat all of that. We're never going to eat all of that. And it's going to expire before we can. Anyway, even if we wanted to have spaghetti every day for 50 days straight, like one of these jars is going to expire. And he was so proud of that. And he had, I think it might be at my mom's house. He had a receipt that, I'm not kidding, was about 15 feet long from this one time he went to the grocery store, and he couponed so hard they paid him a dime. The receipt said negative 10 cents. And the amount of shit that he bought, there was so much stuff. It was insane. It was like boxes of cereal, just ragu, Gatorade, toothpaste. It was like $1,000+ worth of stuff. And he got them to pay him a dime. And I would say that was like probably one of his top 5 proudest moments of his life. And I remember he came home and he was bragging about it. He was like, yeah, they kept scanning the coupons over and over and over. And then at the end, the girl had to like open the register and give me a dime, and she was confused. I don't know how he did it. I still don't know how he did it. Like, how can you do that? Even if you're getting like buy one, get one free. The math like doesn't, I don't know how he did it. Man, just like, what the fuck, dude? How did you do that? And we'll never know now, unfortunately. He probably told us, but I can't remember. He would go to the store so often. I mean, he was a regular there. He would go to the store for like 2 or 3 hours at a time, and he loved it. He loved it. He loved the coupon thing, and he just loved going there. He loved talking to people. When he died, about a month after he died, my mom and I went to the store. The girl, the cashier, she she saw my mom's credit card, and she's like, Cahn, are you related to Stu? And we're like, yeah. And she was like, where is he? Where's he been? And we told her, we're like, yeah, he passed away last month. And I felt so bad because it was a month for us. So we were, we're still grieving, but we wouldn't get upset, if we were talking about him. And, this girl, my dad just died for her. So when we told her, like, I remember her face, like, the happiness just was gone. And, yeah, it sucked. I felt really bad. She just, like, immediately, like, she got all upset, and she was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I have to go. And, she went off, and we saw her talking to like a manager, and then the manager came over and was like, oh my God, I'm really sorry about Stu. I saw in the newspaper or whatever. And, she really liked him a lot. And it was sweet. It was nice to see that kind of impact that my dad had on, who was a stranger to us, but clearly he was going to the store enough to have yucked it up with this, probably like a fresh out of high school girl. And, that, it's sad, but it was really nice to see that kind of impact, because people die every day. You go to the store and it might be the last time you see a customer, and you never know, but my dad was going and making an impact and probably making this girl happy. That's really awesome. He also did that with a neighbor of mine back at our old house. There was a family that was around the block. I think they were from like Haiti or something. They had a pet turtle that my dad found. I was running around the neighborhood, and the mom went up to me, and she's like, "Excuse me." I think she recognized me. They might have been at my dad's service. She's like, "Was Stu your dad?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh my God, I have a funny story to tell you." And she told me about this turtle that was walking across the street, across the intersection. And it was around the same time that my dad was getting back from his walk. And this woman was also, like, she was about to go on a walk to the park. And they both saw the turtle, and my dad was like, "Oh my God, I gotta save the turtle." And it was a big turtle. And for some reason, I guess he was like trying to pick it up, and the thing was like snapping at him. So he took his shirt off, and he was trying to wrap it up, and he was like, go up to the hill and tell the people to slow down so they don't kill the turtle and me. So she kind of walked up, and she was flagging drivers down, because they're gonna go down the hill really fast, and pow. Yeah, he was like, "Oh, what do we do with this?" And she was like, "Oh, I don't know what we're supposed to do." And he was like, "Well, I can't keep it at my place because I have dogs." It's probably like a Saturday or something, so I don't know if animal control was open. So she's like, "Oh, I'll take it to my house." So he walked the turtle over to her house, and then they ended up keeping the turtle as a pet. They named her Diva. And I thought that was really cool that I had no idea. I had no idea that he saved a turtle, and this family took the turtle in. And it was funny because I was like, "Oh my God, that's so nice. Like, can I see the turtle?" And she's like, "No, she died." I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Yeah, just when I would hear all these stories about him, essentially doing good deeds, it made me really appreciate him that much more, because that was really cool of him. All right, camera shut off again. So in keeping with his frugalness and his couponing, he also he used to collect. I don't think they do it anymore, but they had Coke rewards. Anytime that you'd buy a case of Coke, or if you had a 20-ounce bottle of it and you took off the cap, there was a little code on the bottom. You could go online and get redeem it for a hat or a shirt or something. And he was always collecting the points. And what he would do is he would he wasn't going through people's trash, but if we were at an event they had these concerts in the park in our neighborhood, and if he knew that there was cartons of water bottles or Coke, he would go over and take them so that he could earn points. And one time we were at we had a 5K at Universal Studios. They used to have a 5K on the back lot. You run through Universal Studios. It was really, really cool. And my mom and my dad and I used to go. We went, I think, 2 or 3 years. We were having the post-run pancake breakfast, and he was super excited because he hit the jackpot with the Coke rewards. And he was going around to all the little vendor areas and, "Oh, are you gonna throw that away? Are you gonna throw that away? Can I take that? Can I take that? Can I borrow a trash bag?" And like a deranged Santa Claus, he was, again, vendor to vendor, tent to tent, stuffing these empty carcasses of soda bottles into a trash bag, and he was having a great time. And my mom and I were far off, and we could see him going around, and he was like, oh my, I got 30 of them now. Oh, this is so great. And like everyone's looking at him, and we're like, Jesus Christ, man, please stop. They had a raffle at the same time going on, and your bib was your raffle. This was around the time that Dexter, I believe they just introduced the character Lumen. I can't remember the actress's name, but she's a blonde actress, and her name was Lumen in the show. And there was a woman at this event that I don't think she really looked like the actress, but my dad thought she did, and he was really excited about that. So he told her that, and then he brought her over to my mom, because my mom and dad watched Dexter, and he brought her over to my mom to show her how much she looks like Lumen. And my mom was like, I'm so sorry he did this. You're very beautiful. I don't know what to tell you. You kind of look like her. And my dad just wouldn't let it go. He's like, you look exactly like Lumen. You look just like Lumen. You look just like her. And we're like, okay, dude, fucking chill. Anyway, the ceremony goes on for the raffle, and they're raffling off all these, great prizes and stuff. And my dad's he's still working. He's stuffing all the things into the trash bag, and they call this number, 4592. They keep calling it, and then he realizes that's Lumen's number, and he's yelling that. He's like, that's Lumen's number. He called this woman Lumen. Her name was now Lumen to him. So he's yelling for Lumen. They called her number, go up on stage. Lumen! Lumen! They called your number. You won! You won! And he's like freaking out. And we're like, dude, you need to fucking chill. You need to fucking chill out, man. He goes up to on stage. He's like, I know who that is. I know who that is. That's my friend. She won. Don't call anyone else. And the guy is like, okay. So we're looking all over for Lumen, and he finds her, and he grabs her, and he's like, Lumen, you won, you won, you won. Go up on stage. And she's so excited. She's like, oh my God, I did. Oh, I won a cooler, or whatever the fuck it was. She's like, oh my God, that's so great. And she goes up to the stage with my dad, and her number wasn't even close. She didn't win anything. It was like 9255. Not even close. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? And my mom was so mad and so embarrassed. She was just like, you need to calm down. You need to slow down. Like she would talk to him like that sometimes, because he would get so riled up over that kind of thing. And she would break it down to him like, you're yelling at this woman. Her name's not Lumen. She didn't win anything. You're yelling at the guy on stage. You're walking around yelling about Coke rewards, telling people about it. You need to calm down. And I was really embarrassed. I was ready to go home. But looking back on it, I see him, and I love seeing like that version of my dad where he was just completely unhinged, but in a good way. Like there was a chaos about him, but he wasn't hurting anybody. He was just weird. I'm sure that he was never going to see these people again. I'm sure that somebody remembers him doing that. I'm sure Lumen does. I'm sure that woman will never forget that moment the rest of her life. And she probably talks about that to this day. Yeah, this guy called me Lumen and was yelling at me that I won and I didn't. And he showed me off to his wife that I looked like Lumen, and I kind of do. I have blonde hair, but that's about it. Oh, Stu. But that's who he was. He was always on. He was always trying to help people. He was so kind to everybody, to his friends, when he passed away, this wasn't even his friend. It was a guy he worked with. When he passed away, we saw in his calendar like a countdown, like every week. It was like 152, 151, 150, 149. And we're like, what? We didn't know what it was. And we ended up finding out, my mom saw in his checkbook, there was a guy that he worked with who was paying my dad like $800 a week or a month or something, on a loan that my dad made long time ago. And my dad ended up paying this guy like $40,000 to a coworker who the guy considered my dad a friend, and I guess my dad considered him a friend, but I think he more felt bad for him. The guy, it turned out, was going to take his life because he had a drinking problem. And I think I don't know if it was gambling or really bad investments or probably both, along with the alcohol. Got into a really bad place and basically was going to take his life. And he called my dad. And my dad was like, what's up? And he was like, I'm in bad. And like, it was all financial. And when my dad found out, like, what do you need? And the guy was like, I'm like $40,000 bad. I don't know how my dad did it. If he took a loan out himself or if he dipped into like our college fund or what happened, but he ended up spotting this guy $40,000, and the guy was paying it back for a very, 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 very long time. And my dad was keeping track of it because he was like, I'm getting this fucking money back. Anyway, we ended up having problems with the guy after my dad died because he stopped sending the checks like, I don't know, a year or two before. I think my dad was like trying to get that back from him. And after he died, the guy especially got, went into hiding. So just knowing that he did that was really awesome too. And it's hard to think about that and not be kind of like bitter, especially now that I'm older and I'm like, dude, if like a coworker told me they were gonna do that, I'd try to help them, but like I'm not giving them $40,000. I don't even know if I could give them like I could probably do 1,000, but like, it's like, it's not someone that you can't be putting yourself in that kind of situation. Anyway, I love that he did that because that just shows his character, that this is a guy who was down and my dad thought he could help him up, and the guy's still alive, so it worked. It also feels like the guy kind of took advantage of my dad a little bit because people would do that too. I think because he was so nice and he was always trying to help out people, and he would always focus on that over his own things that he needed. And I think that's what kind of like gave him purpose and made him feel important. Like he didn't really take care of his health very well, but when it came to other people, he'd be like, oh yeah, you gotta quit smoking, you need to quit. My dad didn't smoke, but you gotta quit smoking, you're gonna die from that, like that's really bad for you. And it's like, yeah, but dad, you're eating really terribly, so you shouldn't be talking about health like that. But he tried. One thing I really admired about my dad was his appreciation of hard workers, and especially like custodial type workers. He would always notice them. Like if we were at like a baseball game or something and he saw somebody. He would like focus on like some guy cleaning up, peanut shells or something after the game, and he'd be like, look at this guy down there. Look how hard he's working. Look at that guy. He's been doing that nonstop for like 45 minutes. Like, of course, that's his job. But my dad would notice that guy. And more often than not, he would go and like talk to the person. And more often than not, end up becoming like friends with them. I really liked that as well. And it was sometimes, as a kid, it got to be annoying, because he would talk to these people and it was like, dude, what? Let's go. We're at the store. We're done. Let's go. And he'd be talking to, the cart boy or something. But he would be so excited to talk to them. And when we were kids, we lived about 6 houses down from our middle school. And my dad had a really bad habit of locking himself out of the house in his bathrobe. And the reason this would happen would be when it was garbage day, and the garbage man became my dad's buddy. So like every Tuesday or whatever, all the cars are, backed up in front of our house dropping kids off, and my dad would be out front in his ratty, holy, just almost silk-like bathrobe, waiting for the garbage man with a glass of milk to give the garbage man, because that's what he wanted to do. So on these days, he'd sometimes lock himself out of the house, and when he would do that, he'd go down to the school to get a key from one of us. And the way he would do that is he would stand at the end of the quad and yell for one of us. And since pretty much everybody knew who my dad was, it would just kind of relay, oh, where's Sam? Where's Ben? Where's Nate? So eventually it would get to one of us, and then one of us would have to run down the hall and give him a spare key. It was really embarrassing. And it usually happened with, I would be opening up my locker, and then someone would come up, it'd be Winston, and be like, hey, Sam, your dad locked himself. I'm like, all right. Have to run down there, and it's like, I get down there, and he's talking to my 8th grade history teacher, Mr. Ennin, and I'm like, take your fucking key and go, stop talking to Mr. Ennin, stop. And Mr. Ennin loved my dad. Everybody loved him. He'd have his chest all open and exposed and go back down to the house and yuck it up with the garbage man. But the point is, he would yuck it up with the garbage man. And I really appreciated that. And he became very close friends with the guy who did construction on our house. The guy who did like the tile, the flooring. He ended up being like really good friends with him. That was really nice, because this guy, he came over from Mexico when he was like a teenager. I don't think he spoke any English. He ended up, he built his business up and he did really well. And my dad saw that, and he appreciated that. And he saw that kind of, that ethic in people, and knew this was a really good guy and wanted to be friends. That's how he was. Anytime we would go somewhere, he would find somebody and learn about them. And like I said, more often than not, he'd end up getting their phone number, and then boom, he has a connection. Now he knows this person. But that was my daddy. He was a really awesome guy. He was always a showman. He did at my bar mitzvah, he did 13 push-ups because I was 13 years old. He did 13 push-ups on the stage after he gave me my speech for some reason. And then at my younger brother's bar mitzvah, he asked my dad, can you like shave your beard someday, because we didn't know what his face looked like until like 2002. He always had a beard since since we were born. Yeah, for his bar mitzvah, I think it was Nate. It might have been Ben. Had to have been one of them. But yeah, during the service, my dad gets up, even though he's up on stage. At a bar mitzvah, your parents are up on stage with you, sitting with you. He gets up and goes to the bathroom. He's gone like 10 minutes, and he comes back, and his face is totally shaved. And I remember the whole like audience gasped, because a lot of them were his friends that hadn't seen his face since, like, he had a beard, I think, since like 1975. Just full on beard. Glorious beard it was. I'm glad I inherited that. Yeah, he was always doing that kind of thing, just a real showman, and I wish that he stuck with that, because I know he wanted to be an actor. He just kind of bounced around from job to job, and yeah. Cool. So this episode kind of was a bummer, even though I didn't want it to be. I just I don't know. I felt weird. Like I said, I felt weird doing anything else. Like, I didn't want to talk about like whatever we were going to talk about this week, because that's always it's a date that sneaks up on you, because I have my birthday in 2 weeks, and then I have my brother's birthday is the day before mine, and then my sister's birthday was 10 days ago. All these, dates, and then sandwiched in between is the death anniversary, and it always sneaks up, because it's like, oh, Dana just had her birthday. Oh, I'm next. And then it's like, boom, March 18th. Text from my mom where it's like, hey, missing your dad today. And it gets easier as time goes on. I still have a bad habit of hanging on to physical things that I'm not ready to throw away yet. Like, I have actually had this to bring up. I have this washing sign. You see that? Yeah, this is just it was on like just a little piece of paper. He wrote washing to put on the dishwasher, so we knew if the dishes were washing, and then he had another one that said clean after. I don't know. It's a stupid thing. I have it on the refrigerator, or I put it on the dishwasher. Just little things like that. I just irrationally, I can't throw them away, because I feel like, oh yeah, if I throw this away, I'm throwing him away. Or what if I see him again and he asks where this is? No, he's not going to do that. But yeah, it's tough. It sucks. But March 18th, it comes and it goes, and then on to the next one. And pretty soon, I don't know. I'm not going to forget, but I think it'll be like, oh, today's the day. Well, okay. I think that'll do it for us today. I'm sorry about this episode. Just with the other video that I did this week, that's really draining for me. I'm trying to do that every 2 weeks, but it's like once a month. I did kind of like, with my grandma's eulogy, I just wrote a couple of notes here. So I have Lumen, Diva Turtle, Grocery Store Girl, Guy $40,000, Ticket, Garbage Man, and then I wrote Onion in Room, which we didn't get to that, but he used to put an onion in our bedrooms because he thought it would suck up germs. A thing that he thought. He read it online. He read it in a chain email, I believe. Stu, did you have anything you wanted to add? He was a bitchin' guy. And you've known him longer than I have. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Anyway, if you have a dad, text him, call him tonight and say, hey, I love you, man. 'Cause he might die tomorrow. And if he's already dead, text your mom. Say the same thing. Hey, Mom, I appreciate you. I love you. You're great. And if she's no longer with us, text a sibling. Hey, bro. Hey, sis. Love love what you do, and you're great. You're A-okay. And if you don't have any siblings, DM me. Put it in the comments below, and I'll say hi. As usual, you go to the store, use some coupons, get 10 cents back, push your cart out, put the groceries away. What do you do with the cart when you're done? That's right. You put it in the cart return, because that's what you do with the cart when you're done. And that'll do it for us.